So today we are going to be doing some Riverwatch sampling. So citizen science, as Riverwatch says, real people doing real science. And so we've got a kit today where we're going to actually collect some creek samples, and we'll be looking first at dissolved oxygen. So I'll take some samples here at the creek, and then I'll actually take these back to my home laboratory in the garage where we'll do some titration, and I'll show you pictures of that later in the video of what we're looking for. So what we want to check is for water quality. And so we're looking at how much oxygen is in the water by taking these samples and performing the later tests, because all living creatures need oxygen to breathe. And so the fish and other aquatic species need a certain level of that, and that's what we're going to be sampling today. So the cool part is we'll see the water, the clear, turn some different colors as we go through some of that process. And then I'll also take some other samples and we'll be looking at the alkalinity of the water and the hardness. We'll take temperature, and so those are some basic parameters that we're looking for healthy ecosystems, because we want our biodiversity to thrive in this creek. We want to see trout. We want to be able to come in, recreate, and support the complete creeks concept. We want to have fun. We want to do science, but we also want to recreate. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're doing is actually collecting the water sample for the dissolved oxygen. So this will stay in the water for about 3 minutes. I've got a leash over here that's collecting the temperature. And this is the first step in our monthly samples. We do this every month. The data is uploaded into the Riverwatch database, where you can actually check data throughout the entire state and see how our creeks and rivers look. All right, take it out. All right, so we've got our water sample of DO being dissolved oxygen. We'll take it over to the lab kit and do some samples, but first I gotta check the temperature before we leave. And it looks like we are at 2 degrees Celsius. There we go. So what we got is our chemical solution of magnesium going in here. So basically what we're going to end up doing is turning the water different colors. And what we're looking for is that dissolved oxygen, but it's hard to see when it's clear. And so essentially what we're going to do is basically rust the water. So when I say rust, probably for those that are visual are starting to see some colors that you're thinking of for the color rust. So right now it's still clear. And then we're going to add another chemical here. This is our alkaline iodine. Whoa. So you see that it's cloudy. I'm turning this amazing color here of sludge and orange, right? And so those chemicals that we added, although they were clear independently, when they mix or bind together, they basically rust the water. And those are called flocculants. And so they are kind of like jelly or a gelatin. They make the water thicker, and the particles that are in the water that we can't see with our eye all of a sudden stick to those flocculants, and we're able to see that. And we'll give this about a minute or so, and you'll notice that it actually settles. Those heavy particles start to go to the bottom. And so they look like little clumps of jelly. And then we'll give this a couple more shakes, and we're going to add one more chemical to it before we're finished today. But this is how we test for dissolved oxygen. Cool. All right, we got samples, and then we got to do metals, right? So first we'll do unfiltered, right? Check for our metals. We're really taking samples. These get sent to the lab, but the first one is non-filtered creek water. So here we go. So non-filtered. For the next round, we want a filtered sample, and this is checking to see the suspended solids will come out or get in the filter. That's why we do this. So now we're going to add what we call a pillow to this. That will also thicken this up. And then we'll be ready to head to the lab. We added the final ingredient, if you will. We'll give this some shakes to make that flocculant really stand out. And we'll let that settle again, and finish cleaning up. All right, so I'll head to the lab, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to kind of tell you a little bit about what you might expect, right? So as you go to school, you might take some chemistry classes that this definitely relates to. You might take some geography classes, right? Certainly related to this as well, and I'm a muddy boots geographer. So yes, I've taken different levels of science classes. Geography is not considered a science, it's more of an art is what they call that. But to me, it really puts these two together. It takes what we see in the natural world and our environment to how that impacts people and how we impact the environment. So this really demonstrates both of those. It's our relationship on how we can be good land stewards. So I would encourage you all to take science classes, take art classes, take things that interest you, because that's really how you're going to be able to formulate what you're all about, what you want to be drawn to, what you think you might want to be when you grow up. And the only way you're going to figure that out is to take classes and see what fits you best. So I didn't know that science would be something that I wanted to do every day, but as I took some classes, I really enjoyed part of chemistry, I really enjoyed part of physics, but I always enjoyed being outside, right? Who doesn't love this? Coming out to the creek and getting paid to do this type of work is absolutely amazing. So I feel very fortunate, but again, I wouldn't have known that this is what I wanted to be when I grew up until I took some classes and figured that out. So I spent a lot of time in the lab, sometimes hating the day, sometimes loving the day, but it's neat to see the colors and how they change because of those chemical reactions and how that directly relates to the health of the creek. And that's the story that I want to tell to our citizens in our community, is how can we better and take care of the creek, and what improvements can we make? Well, we've got to monitor that and understand it before we can make any suggestions and recommendations. So in the meantime, stay safe, have fun, get outside and play, get out, spread out, and enjoy your day.